Welcome back, everyone. Today we're here for an unboxing and to ask a couple of questions. And we've got two very different devices that we're going to look at today. One of which is going to be immensely useful in covering a couple of other things that I've actually already unboxed and started testing. And the other is just a fascinating new piece of technology. So let's start with the simpler one. We have from Pluggable a USB-C Voltage and Amperage meter. This is a fairly simple looking device, and on the back we get some really cool stuff that we can do with it. So it supports all USB 3 data, or all USB data 1.1 through 3.1 Gen 2, not specifying if that's 5 gig or 10 gig for 3.1 Gen 2. So we're going to have to test that. USB-C alt mode pass-through, power delivery, charging, pass-through monitoring, 4 volts to 22, 50 milliamps to 6.5 amps. That means that I can take devices like that travel charger we had and plug a laptop in and see, do I get 60 watts through it? Some of the docking stations we've had say they support 80 or 100 watt pass-through. And if I can find a device that pulls enough power, I can validate that. We can also do other things like this display that I have from Viotech, this USB-C display. I can actually plug this in to a laptop with this in line, and I'll be able to tell exactly how much power that display is pulling. So let's go ahead and take a look at it. And the one that we've already started testing, I don't know what order these are going to go live in, but a spoiler alert, is a PoE USB-C power device. And I may actually have a couple of those that I'm playing with in my studio to get more power, or to get power through to my phone, since I'm using that as a studio camera there. Alright, so having troubles, we get this cute little goblin guy. Go to the pluggable.com/support. Rate, review, follow us on social media. Here's a discount code. Okay, nothing abnormal there. Here's the device itself, and this may just end up living in my roll of tools next to my older USB meter, which never quite did as much as I wanted it to do. Alright, so we got a little plastic cap over that. Kind of odd. They put a plastic dust cover on the port, or on the plug end, I should say, but then we don't get a counterpart in the port end. Let's see, one plug, one port, and a button. Anything else included? Nope. Okay, so off the bat, I'm not a huge fan of the design. I understand what they're going for here. I can take this and let's grab something really quick. I can put it on the end of a cable, and I can then take my phone, plug this in, and hopefully see it light up. And it shows me direction of travel, tells me that the phone is pulling 11.9 watts, 2 some odd amps at 5.6 volts. And if I press the button, it flips over which way the display is shown to me. Cool. But I would have liked to have seen a port on both sides. And the reason I would have liked to have seen that is that this is a break hazard. Hanging off the phone like this is a hazard where if something happens, I can damage the tool. I would much rather have a 3-inch cable that, you know what, if my cable gets broken, I just replace the 3-inch cable. I don't have to replace the whole meter. Really like what I'm seeing here. This is easy to read. I like the arrow because theoretically, if I put this on the other end, since this is fully directional, the arrow, or fully reversible, the arrow should point in the opposite direction. And it does. So there's no reason that this has to be built like it's a directional tool, like it has to go on the device end of the cable. And that honestly might have saved them a little bit in manufacturing, because they would have just been putting a port on both sides, wouldn't have had to stock two different parts when they're building it, and then would have been able to just take something that they already supply with some of their other stuff and include some short cables. Granted, I'm not going to assume that that's 100% accurate, but just at a hunch, probably would have been a wash to design it that way. So, really cool. Love this. We're going to see a lot more of this in reviews, and we're going to do some more in-depth poking and prodding on it and give it its own dedicated video, but it's out of the box. Here is the more complicated item, and this is the one where I need you guys to give me some information in the comments. This is a USB 4 and Thunderbolt 4 hub with 60-watt host charging and a USB 3 port. Well, what does that mean? It means that it's a Thunderbolt hub. It supports 8K display or 2K, 2 extended displays, 4K 60, M1 base Max don't support all of that properly, and some Thunderbolt Windows systems support a single external display. We'll get to that in a moment. Compatible with Thunderbolt, USB, and video alt mode, up to 60-watt host charging. So let's take a look here. We get a nice picture of the package, 3 Thunderbolt ports, Thunderbolt port to the host, USB 10 gig. So while I'm opening this, the reason there's that note about some Windows systems is the Thunderbolt 3 standard did not require everyone implement the full Thunderbolt feature set. So on a device like, what do I want to pick on? My ThinkPad P1 or my P50, it includes the full Thunderbolt feature set minus charging, because they pull too much power for that. Whereas Thin and Light Ultrabook, something like, and I don't know this for a fact, I'm just picking on a random one you guys will recognize, an XPS 13 would have potentially either included only 20 gig support for Thunderbolt, or maybe only a single monitor out, depending on what graphics card was in it, or some variation thereof, where it has enough Thunderbolt to be Thunderbolt and supports PCI Express and all those good things, but doesn't necessarily support the full set. And that's actually part of what Thunderbolt 4 did. So this is really nicely made. Not a fan of this packaging. Would have liked to have seen that just not included, honestly. This would have been fine like it is. I don't think that package adds anything to this. So we get 4 rubber feet on the bottom, 3 Thunderbolt ports, 20 volt, 5 amp in. That is 100 watts, which is more than it says it supports to the host, but that's probably because some of this is dedicated to the Thunderbolt ports themselves. And then we have a massive power brick, charging cable, a USB-C to HDMI dongle, the Thunderbolt cable, and another one of these having troubles. And just a little quick start guide, how to plug it all in, plug it into power, etc. Connect to the host, connect to your peripherals. Nothing surprising there. So let's start with the simple one. Remember when I said a minute ago, looking at that USB-C power meter, that they could have just included a cable that they make otherwise? This is an excellent example of that. This is a full USB-C HDMI separate package, item Pluggable produces, something that I can go buy off the shelf from them, just included in the box. They didn't make any special provisions. They just said, you know what, we have these in stock. We're going to take it as a component and just put it in. That's cool. Saves on doubling up. Next up, we have the Thunderbolt 4 cable itself. Says this is USB 4, Thunderbolt 4, USB-C, 0.8 meter. And yeah, so that's 80 centimeters. That is a nice cable. Should definitely be long enough for anything this would be used with. One thing I'm not a fan of is this power brick. So this is a 20 volt 5 amp brick, so this is a 100 watt brick. Functionally, there's no reason it has to be this large. This is definitely somewhere I can tell that Pluggable cut down on cost. Now, I would have much rather seen one. I would rather see something closer to this form factor. Now, this is actually a higher output AC adapter, and volumetrically they're probably about the same size. But this is just a bit lower profile, bit easier to hide certain places. This is just an older style. The other thing they could have done, and I 100% know saying it, is that they could have used what's called a Gallium Nitride charging adapter, and that would have let them make something that will provide 20 volts 5 amps that's actually close to like the size of a regular phone adapter. I recently bought one of those for a laptop, and granted it was like $50, so it probably cost too much to be included in this. And it was the size of a phone charger, but it was a 65 watt charger for an executive with a new ThinkPad Yoga. So, anyway, would have liked to have seen a smaller AC adapter. I understand why it is the size it is, and it's not going to bother a lot of people. You can easily hide something this size in most desks. Just one of those things I would have liked to have seen, but understand why I'm not. We need to do a separate video on what has changed between Thunderbolt 3, USB Type-C in its various incarnations, and Thunderbolt 4 and USB 4 to fully cover what I can and can't do with this hub. And I should be able to do like 99% of what it's capable of, since I have two different Thunderbolt 3 equipped laptops at this point. I should 100% be able to attach USB-C monitors to it. I've got some Thunderbolt SSDs that I can attach to it. I have a couple of different USB-C to display port adapters. I've got a 10 gig network adapter we can test with it. But what I want to know is, what would you guys do with a hub like this? I already know some of the people that I interact with on a regular basis would use things like video capture cards. And in fact, I'm going to show this to the guy that does that kind of thing, and he's probably going to try and steal it from me. Because he's got like 3 different SDI capture cards so that he can bring 12 different camera feeds in at once. And a device like this would be fantastic for him. He does that. I could definitely do a pretty basic desk setup. I actually have... I finally got my hands on a Thunderbolt equipped laptop that supports charging via Thunderbolt. This is a Yoga C920, and it's an older system. It's only an 8th gen i5. It's nothing, 11th or 10th gen, but it's a nice little system. It was cheap enough for me to keep here on hand for playing with things like this dock and actually charging with them. But it's also reasonable enough that I can try most of the feature set on this. And like I said, we'll try it with my P1 as well. Obviously that won't charge, but I could do a full setup with this and attach, monitor, a network adapter, and a Thunderbolt SSD to it. And then just use Bluetooth for a keyboard and mouse, or it does have a regular USB port there. I could do something like one of the Logitech sets that uses one dongle for one wireless keyboard and one wireless mouse, and then that's it. This is your whole dock. But I feel like a setup like that really doesn't push this to its full potential. I mean, it's a 40 gig hub, yeah, using it for an SSD and a 10 gig network adapter is a great start, but that doesn't seem like enough. So I really want to know, what kind of things do you guys want to see push through this Thunderbolt hub, so that I make sure that I fully understand what the market's looking for in this, and so that I can really put it through its paces. And I, listed off most of the things that I have available to me, and I could definitely do a single AC adapter desk with this thing, which I think is pretty cool. I've got monitors that support charging support power over USB-C. I've got, network adapters and things like that, and you could run your whole desk off one of these. Although a single 15.6-inch monitor on my desk would feel a little weird coming from multiple 20-plus inch panels. But hell, if that's what you guys want to see, I definitely wouldn't mind setting something like that up. Anyway, let me know what you want to see in the comments below, and we will do as much of it as we can. Obviously, if you tell me that you want something that I don't own, that may be a bit beyond, but I'll certainly try and accommodate everything. With all of that said, I will comment that these were retail samples. These were not sent in by Pluggable PR, so we can do with them as we will, and are under no obligation to say anything nice. Although I'm really happy to have my hands on this one, just for testing a couple of things. As always, I would like to thank anyone who helps support Pocketables, either by using our Amazon affiliate links or by supporting us on Patreon. It is support like that that helps make videos like this possible. I would like to thank Electrix for providing our opening and closing themes. And finally, thank you for watching.